All right, what's up, everybody? This is the Friday Mastermind. It's always a little bit special when you've got the one and only Rene Rodriguez in the house. What's up, Rene?
What's up? What's up? Good to see you guys.
What's
Thank
up?
you for having me back. Been too long.
Hey, thanks for making time to do this. So before I frame the call, Todd, anything you want to say to frame the call and get things kicking off?
Well, I mean, come on, we got Rene, so I definitely don't want to take up more time than I have to, but I do want to remind everyone we've got Scriptapalooza coming up in a month-ish, little 3 weeks maybe. And it's going to be a great opportunity to have 6 amazing people talking about the conversations that matter most right now. And we're going to be joined by none other than Phil Jones, author of Exactly What to Say. So we're super excited for that. I'll throw the link in here. It's just winbynoon.com/scripts with an S on the end, and you can register there. It's a free event that we love putting on. So looking forward to having you all there.
Right on. D Bird, anything you want to say?
No, I'm excited to get into this with Rene, and I feel like there's a lot of loan officers and mortgage professionals who struggle with articulating their brand and learning how to differentiate. So I'm excited to go deep on today's topic. And, we're finishing the last week of July and entering August, which will be a history maker month with big changes with NAR. So I'm ready to dive in and roll my sleeves up and take lots of notes and workshop this. So you guys get ready. If you guys are listening, make sure you participate in the chat. We want your feedback. We want you to engage. This is for you guys. So be selfish with your time.
All right. So here's my frame, guys. Tom Ferry, #1 real estate coach in America, is broadcasting from the top of the mountain that this NAR settlement shift is a chance of a lifetime, because it is a shift. It is a change in where the sales process starts. I've interviewed a lot of people, and I've got pretty varied comments from, there's going to be change, but once we get on the other side of it, it's just going to be like no change. I've had folks talk about 40% of realtors exiting the business. I do know there's confusion, and I do know there are multiple opinions, and wherever there is confusion and multiple opinions, there is opportunity. I also know I interviewed Shant Benoshian on Tuesday, and was it last week? No, Shant, I just interviewed you on Tuesday. And guys, it was the mind of a champion. Like, I can tell you right now, no matter if Shant was a realtor, he'd be the #1 realtor in the country. If Sean was a financial planner, he would be winning because of his mindset, because of his work ethic, because of his discipline, because of his focus. And so there is a path forward for everyone to Tom Ferry's position. This is the chance of an opportunity to upgrade your brand. So no one better than Rene Rodriguez. No one has coached more of the most successful influencers in mortgage and real estate. His event his event Amplify, which is a 2-day event that I've been through multiple times, is truly a transformational experience. His event coming up next month called AmpCon is truly a life-changing experience. And so I wanted Rene to come in and just walk us through a process of how both a loan officer and a realtor can upgrade their personal brand. Together, they can elevate each other's personal brands and completely crush it during this NAR settlement transformation process. So Rene, I don't know if I framed that the way you want, but how do you see the opportunity? We know how Tom Ferry sees it because he's talking about it. Like, how does Rene Rodriguez see this marketplace and this opportunity?
I see it the way that I saw 9/11, the way that I saw COVID, the way that I've seen every single adversity or shift that I cannot control. That I have to understand it, but it will not occupy much of my thinking. And here's why. So Shant's here too. He can chime in. I've had conversations with Shant, some of Shant's biggest competitors, his close friends. I've talked to the top agents in the world, people that are doing in the billions, and not a single one. I say, hey, how much of this NAR settlement is occupying your brain space? And they looked at me like, hardly any, if any. I need to understand it. And the thought process is they're somewhat excited about it because everyone else, their competition is so immersed in it. And we come down and we've distilled this down to say there's just one skill set needed. Buyer's agents need to learn the skills of listing agents, period. And if you could distill it down to that, so what's the difference between a buyer's agent and a listing agent? Well, a buyer's agent gets to say their presentation is, don't worry, my services are paid by someone else. I'm just here to help you. I'm free, which means there's no burden of value delivery. A listing agent says, I need to charge you this, but look at what I'm going to do for you. And I'm going to exchange all this for that commission. And then I get to disperse out how I do that. Well, now the buyer's agent's got to do the same thing. And I say, welcome to sales. Welcome to what Deb has to do every single one of her clients, what Todd has to do with every one of his clients, what Dave has to do with every one of his clients. Not any of us here, what all of you have to do. Not any of us here have to go, don't worry, my services are free. They're paid by somebody else. We're just going to hide them in somewhere else. We have to deliver value. We have to learn how to communicate the value that we bring to the table. So I say good, because we now get a chance to really, truly connect with clients, figure out what our value proposition is, and then decide. And this, we're going to talk about branding. And I need you to stay with me today, because today is going to be deep. It's going to be emotional, because I'm going to share my journey. Woof, it's already starting. And I'm going to share with you what my goal is, to help you stop paying the dumb tax in this journey. I've paid a lot of dumb tax. I've made a lot of mistakes. I've gone down directions and spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to realize, shit, I have put my ladder against the wrong wall that I climbed for 25 years and got to the top of that wall and go, excuse my language, fuck, wrong wall. I got to slide down and put another one up again. Well, guess what? I am on another ladder and I'm climbing up that ladder again. Welcome to reinvention. Welcome to the world of change. Guess what, though? Every time I put my ladder against a new wall, it gets a little bit easier. And that's just part of life. And that's okay. And what ladder did I put it up against? Well, my goal was to be a very high-paid speaker, $35,000 to $50,000 a talk, be always busy. I did it, 239 days last year speaking for a couple years in a row. Then I come home one day, they're gone 5 days. No one's at the door. Wrong fucking ladder, wrong wall. I'm there and my kids are doing something else. My wife's over there. I'm like, hey, I just got home. Oh, hey, how's it going? See you in a couple hours, going to baseball. I'm like, I just got home. And she looks at me, she goes, well, life goes on when you're not here. Shit. Okay. I'm on video saying balance is bullshit, which, by the way, I still think it is. What I am saying is that harmony is the goal. I'd say 239 days, but guess who booked it? My wife booked it. She said, I want to play this tune. You play that tune. Those tunes come together and we make this beautiful song. I realized that day we were out of tune. So I made a couple decisions. And yes, this is all part of branding. This is all part of NAR, because I want to help you think to the mindset and the underlying realities of how you approach change. I can give you all the tools and the strategies. And by the way, there are people that are in the audience that have better tools and strategies than I do. I want to help you with why you won't execute on them, because they're all available. MortgageCoach and Trust Engine YouTube is invaluable. Scriptapalooza, you got all the OGs giving you exactly what to say. But most of us won't do it. And there's a reason why. And I don't mean that of saying, you guys won't do it. I'm saying, I want to help you overcome that. And I'm going to show you how I have to and what I'm in the middle of now. And so I realized that wrong tune. So I had to make drastic changes. One day to the next, I cut my travel 80%. Done. Even my wife's like, wait, what? I'm like, I don't like this tune. I don't like it. It's not what I want. It's not what you want. It's not what the kids want. 80. Well, what are we going to do? Something. I said, but the ships are burned. I've said no to 27 events in the last 2.5 weeks. 27. My badge of honor before was 239 days on the road. And everybody thought it was cool, but nobody was ever happy for me. They'd always say, do you have a family? And there's always this underlying piece. When I cut probably 80%, for the first time, everybody that I've shared that with has been happy for me. Simple criteria, full fee. And does it work with my wife and kids? Can they come? Well, we did Amplify last week in Scottsdale. They came. They were in the hotel. I'm in the thing on breaks. I'm like, hey, what's going on? They're splashing me in my suit. the best feeling in the world. And so now there are times when things have to shift, but this is the reality of when you go, okay, wife and kids aren't at the door, NAR settlement, big shift, slaps you in the face. What are you going to do? Right? This all comes down to is who do you see yourself in the world? And this is at the core essence of what brand is. So many of us do not understand what brand is. And I'm going to go through it in a minute. In fact, I'll ask you this question. What does time and brand have in common? I'll ask you guys, Dave.
Well, real quick,
by the way, I'm teeing you up to do it wrong.
I would love for people to put in comments, what does time and brand mean to you? But
What do they have in common?
But
what do they have in
what do they have
common?
in common? Well, they both improve conversion and compress time, make you more efficient.
Okay.
Make you more money.
We'll see if
Todd,
anybody
wait,
gets any
you
answers.
gotta hear what Todd has to say. Todd, win by noon guy. What's it?
What do
they
time
have in
and brand have in common? I was going to say they're both limited, but your personal brand is what you build it to be, and time is limited based on we got 24 hours in a day.
Okay. Hey, Bird, the top social media consultant in the mortgage space. How would you answer that?
I'm going to mute that.
Dang it. Thank you. My first thought was they're both evolving, like they both go on, just because a lot of times people will tell me they don't think they have a brand. I'm like, oh, you do, even when you don't think you do. So both of these are always evolving and moving forward.
Love it. Here's what I'm going to ask you guys a question. Can you define time? How do you define it? Of what? I'm going to cut to the chase because I got so much shit to cover today. I want to get through it. St. Augustine was quoted as saying, I know exactly what time is until someone asks me. It is one of the most difficult things to understand because when we say, oh, it's money and it's all, so create it then. Define it. The same question I ask all of my clients now, what does brand mean? And I get the same level of perplexed. And I get all of these sort of cliched stuff. Your brand is what people say when you're not in the room. Okay, great, create one. And they don't know the next step to take. And then what they do, and they turn to social media. Well, this is my branding. I just got to do more posts on social media. Not branding. I promise you, because some of the best brands in the world that I know didn't create their brand with social media. This is a spoke in the wheel. But it's not even that. I know people with a ton of followers that have no brand. And so we have to get back to this. And I'm going to hold that question now with what brand is. I'm going to go back to this. And I want you guys all in the comments to write down one sentence for me with the word time in it and how you struggle with the word time. Meaning, I wish I had more time with my kids. I wish people would stop wasting my time. I want to see what you guys write. Let's write them all there. Grab your keywords. And by the way, this will be.
Light it up. Let's light it up for Rene.
This will be interactive. So let's just get, I'm just going to get a few of these things.
Put your phones down. Let's get after it, guys. There's no bad answers.
There's not enough time in my day.
Flies.
I wish I made better use of my time. Time flies. Is what I'm doing worth my time? I struggle with how to divide my time. I need more time. Time is relevant. Self-management. All right. So now keep writing them. I want you all to do this next piece here, which is cross off the word time in your sentence and replace it with the word life. And I want you to reread your sentence. I don't use my life effectively. I can't believe how much life I've wasted. Where did life go over the last 25 years? I struggle to manage my life. Life is tough to manage. I wish I had more life with my mom. You see where I'm going with this? See, now we're starting to get to a tangible understanding of what time is. And I'm going to show you an exercise that I did, and I'm going to fly through this because I want to get to the brand stuff. But this is, if you don't understand your time and the fact that time is actually your life, there's no way you're going to understand brand in terms of the things that you have to shift to be able to actually do it. I'm going to walk you through what took me 6 years and over $600,000 to create. Yeah, and a lot of wasted money. So now I know I can do it in a year at a fraction of that. And whether or not you follow the plan I'm going to show you, at least I want to give you a trajectory to start getting it, a curiosity to start exploring. I don't use my, like, these are so great. I love these. Thank you. So I want you to, I did this exercise a while ago where I looked at my life as a ruler. And I wanted to say, okay, my life is this ruler, and the average lifespan is about 78.69 years. So it's 80 years. So I lopped off that. There's my life right there. And I wanted to see what's the average of what people and how they spend their life. And what we found is that, well, I've already lived at the time 43 years. I'm 48 now. So I've already lived that. So that's kind of, let's just account for that. Well, I sleep for about 1/3 of our life. That's 26.4 years, but I prorated it. So that's about 13.2 years left for me. And we said, okay, so I spent about 13 years of my life working. So I'll just lop that in half, about 7. And most people spend 5 years watching TV. So let's just put 3. 5 years on social media, which I think it's a hell of a lot more, by the way. And then we go, okay, if I remove sleep, I'm just going to do it this way. I remove sleep. I remove work. I remove TV. And I remove social media. And oh yeah, I've lived for 48 of those years. That's what I got left. Now, this was 5 years ago that I did this. Let that sink in for just a minute of how much time you actually have to do the things that you want to do. We don't have that much time. I think Buddha said the problem is you think you have time. And so I looked at this. Part of my shift was, well, I'm on the road all the time. I want 13 years back. Stop travel. Boom, 13 years back. Because now I can sleep next to my wife instead of in a hotel room. I just bought it back. I made a decision 4 weeks ago. I have not scrolled once in 4 weeks. Why did I make that decision? Because I went and I did this, and I invite you guys to do this, by the way. Open up your screen time. Go to your phone, drop down and hit screen time. It'll tell you on average how often you're on the phone. Try that once. And for those that are willing, not easy. And then if you click a little bit lower, it'll tell you a breakdown by app of exactly how you spend your time on your phone. It is brutally honest. My numbers were 8.5 hours a day total, 8.5 hours a day on average. Now I'm on the phone. This is my tool. Then I looked at where, and it was 4.5 of those hours on Instagram. Oh, well, Rene, you got millions of followers. I promise you I wasn't being productive for 4.5 hours a day on Instagram. And here I was complaining about not having enough time for this, not having enough time for this, not having enough time for this, as I'm scrolling through other people's agendas, not mine. Ron and I did a really interesting study today. We're going to do a podcast in about 90 days or 45 days. Because 55 days ago, he took on my 90-day challenge to do a live every day and stuff like that to learn how to do social media. And what's funny is that he started over here never touching social media. I started over here being on it too much. And we have literally, in essence, decided to trade spaces. He became extremely successful not using social media. And we're going to dissect that learning in about 45 days after the 90 days of what we learned on both ends of the spectrum, which is going to be a really, really fun conversation. And so Dave said it's okay to be on Trust Engine app. And so what I looked at,
I like that answer, by the way.
Here's what I looked at. I did this with another CEO, probably one of the most productive CEOs I know, and he spends about 90 minutes a day on TikTok. So we extrapolated that. 90 minutes a day on social media is 45 hours a month. That is more than a week's worth of full-time work. Over, 13, 14 weeks a year. A year. Doing this with your thumb. On other people's agenda, hoping that something catches your attention. And so then I looked at that even deeper and I go, okay, well, there's a whole side of this. My ADD, I'm not the guy that says the ADD. I truly have it. So my outlet for dopamine was social media, was travel, was doing all the things, realizing that I have a problem. So how do I attack problems? Head on. Stop scrolling. I cannot express to you the difference in my life. I'm not saying I won't go back, but the big shift that happened is that I became proactive about it instead of reactive. My phone, I haven't had it in my office in 4 weeks. I haven't looked at a text that have come to me. My team and my wife manage all of it. We did this thing. I said, let's try this for a week. I was going to try it for a week. What if I gave you my phone? You tell me when something's important instead of me thinking everything's important. Oh my God. What came out of it was what I'm about to share with you and the realizations of all of this, because it finally had the creative energy. And I woke up this morning at 4 a.m., by the way, and created what I'm going to show you here today, because I couldn't sleep. And I'm like, I just got to write it out. And it was something for the last 25 years I've been trying to articulate, and it just all came together because I had space. I had margin to think. Now, a lot of you, by the way, a lot of you are already in the path that I'm in. So I applaud you. I'm not saying this from a high horse of look at what I'm doing. There's so many of you that have already managed this. And some of you maybe were where I was. So I hope for those of you who are already there that this is validating for you. And for those of you who were where I was, I'm hoping this might be an inspiration for you to start taking a look. Now, what I want to get us to is the reality of how do we leverage this information to start building our brand. Don't look just yet. That's why I'm hiding this thing.
All right,
Okay,
guys,
good.
give us a little reaction. How are
We're
you
good.
liking the call
Good.
so far, everyone? Give us a little
We're good.
reaction in Zoom.
Actually, if you're with me on this, put the number 2 in there for me. If this is making sense to you, just type the number 2.
All
There's your
right,
hack,
we've
Dave.
got people tuned in. And if you didn't put in the number 2, you're not participating or you're on your mobile phone, get off your mobile phone. Let's go. Tune in.
So now let's go. I asked you what question was, or what time was. Now I'm going to ask you a different question. What is brand? And I'm going to save us time because I already know the answers that are going to come. You're welcome to put them in there. It's what people say when you're not in the room. It's all of the sort of the same answers. And I have gotten the fortunate opportunity to work with some of the best branding people in the world. When I created our brand, I went to the top agency in the world because my best friend happened to be one of the VPs there. And he forced me down a path that was so different that I have never been able to really truly share with people. And when I do, they didn't have any interest because it wasn't the immediate response that what people want or felt like they need. And this was what I told Dave. He goes, build a personal brand. I'm like, we're going to be on for an hour. I'm going to give you this outline, but I'm going to try to end with some things that we can do today, right? But then I want you to also realize that, man, there is so much more going on. What do you say? Outward understanding of what I do and what I provide for someone. That sounds like a value proposition or a description. A brand is different. And so here's the thing, okay? Todd, I'm going to use you as an example, all right? This is brand to me. I want you to imagine that you went on your go back to the first date with your wife, okay? And you are just blown away. Love this girl. Like you're just, you got to see her again. And you muster up the courage saying, you know what? Hey, I'd love to see you again. Can we do this again? And she plays it smart and she goes, you know, Todd, I'm not sure yet, but I'll let you know. She turns around and stops and turns back around. She goes, and she smiles. If I do decide to see you again, don't wear that shirt because that's an unfair advantage. She winks at you, smiles, and turns around. How are you feeling, Todd, every time you wear that shirt after that day?
Well, I think I'm burning it after that day.
I don't think you understood me. She winked at you and said it's an unfair advantage.
Oh, right. So the don't wear the shirt was not really what she meant. Well, that's an amazing shirt. I'm hanging it up, and it's going to be like, I'm going to treat that thing like gold.
Would you frame it or would you wear it? Because how do you feel when you're wearing that shirt?
It's funny. I almost said I would frame it, but then I realized that she wants me to wear it again. So, I have to go out and buy it in every color.
Tommy says, I'd buy a bunch of them. I'm buying 6 more of every color. I'd wear it every single day. Why? Did it had anything to do with the quality of the shirt? The color
Nope.
of the shirt?
Nope.
The manufacturer?
Probably not. No.
It had nothing to do with any of the value propositions. It had nothing to do with any of the features and benefits. It had everything to do with two things. One, the feeling that you had when you put it on that directly led to a promise. That's the part that people miss. I feel like $1 million that I can now use to land the woman of my dreams. And there's the brand promise. Go back to when you first laced on your first pair of Jordans. You put them on. How many of you put a number 5, put a number 23, by the way, Jordan's number. If you wore a pair of Jordans and the moment you put them on, you felt like you could run faster and jump higher. Show me hands. Right there. You could run faster and jump higher. I felt like I could do this. I felt this promise would be true. That's brand. So then the big question is how in the hell do I create it? But then that's the wrong question. You should be asking, what feeling do I want to elicit? And what promise do I want to keep? Okay? I'll tell you, and by the way, you usually aren't explicit about it. But I'm going to tell you what mine was intentionally 6 years ago. And if you've worked with me, I want you to tell me if it's true. I wanted my feeling to be, and the promise to be, that if you worked with me, one, it'd be extremely thought out. It'd come from an authentic place. It was backed by research. And I promised you transformation that stood the test of time. Those are the 4 pieces that I wanted you to feel if you worked with me. So now, we have to get to that feeling of how. But to do that, we have to shift so many things to be able to truly understand what that looks like. And I'll tell you, what does this have to do with the NAR settlement? Not a single thing of the NAR settlement has anything to do with my brand. Now, if you're an expert, you want that to be the brand, that somebody's thought this out, you better understand every ounce of that lawsuit. Not from it should scare you, but you should understand it so that you can explain it and you could be a trusted source of the narrative gap on that. Right? Does that make sense? So now, I got to tell somebody to close the door. 1 second. Dave, talk for a second.
Dave, talk for a second. That's a really hard one. So guys, I want you to put some thoughts in that. What feeling do you want to elicit? And what promise do you want to keep? Like when I interviewed Daniel Saw, like he wants to keep a promise that I can help anybody you refer me be super excited about buying a home in this market, and that I will prepare them and I will coach them and I have a process to help them win in a multiple offer situation. Now that's super, super tactical, but I want people to think, because I don't want to debate Rene, but I do think there needs, well, I'll debate you, Rene. I do think there is an upgrade in value proposition that both the mortgage professional and the real estate professional needs to address with the NAR settlement. I mean, I do feel that, first of all, the cat is out of the bag. Real estate commissions are negotiable. I do think listing agents will get, hit harder. I do believe the best listing agents with the best processes, they'll adapt their value propositions and they'll win. And I do believe the buyer agent value proposition. And so I do think there's a thinking that needs to elevate for all people in housing to upgrade your value prop. Any thoughts on that, Rene?
Yes. I don't hear debate because I agree with you, by the way. I think that's part of the
I'd
process.
prefer to debate a little bit. Like, do you mind?
I know, but I think it's you're adding to it. So here's why. So when we look at this, we say, okay, I'm going to give you a little equation. Okay. This is what we call the psychological value equation. And when we think about the minus, I'm going to do it in color red so it makes sense. And that equals value. So the psychological value equation, PSY value equation, whatever. Okay. So EB multiplied by C minus cost equals value. Okay. So what does that mean? Expected benefits, which would another way be to say your, geez, that's too big. Let's go there. Your value prop. That's my expected benefits multiplied by confidence
Ooh.
that you'll actually get them, minus the cost of it equals the value created. People talk about value without actually being able to articulate it, right? So then we go, okay, here's this, but there's a multiplier involved, and the multiplier is right here. And guess what that's called? That's a feeling. Confidence is a feeling. Because I know a lot of people with the same exact expected benefits, a lot of mortgage professionals that can recite the thing. But why do I believe one over the other? And that's the X factor. Simon Sinek says, why is it that some people are just produce more than others? Why is it that 250,000 people showed up for Martin Luther King? Why is it? And that whole why question, which really started a revolution and why, but it's the same thing. What is that X factor that for some reason, I believe you over someone else? And so
Confidence
when
and clarity. Confidence and clarity. And by the way, is clarity part of confidence?
Well, I would say that, so it's the expected benefits multiplied by the confidence that I'll get those benefits. I would say clarity would be here. How clearly can you articulate them?
Yeah, right.
Right. And I'll answer that question in a second to go a little bit deeper, because there's another example I want to give. But this confidence, it's like, so for example, if I had a 10 here in expected benefits and the confidence was a 1, right? Cost was 5. The value is what? 5. 10 multiplied by 1 is 10, minus 5 is 5. And I know this isn't following your mathematicians out there. Fine. But now watch this. What if I had a better brand and I had 8 in expected benefits and I had a 3 in a better brand? It's 24 minus that, I'm at 19 now. I can charge more. Your multiplier is your brand. That's that piece that has that exponential value. And to do that, there's a mindset shift that has to happen, because now I'm giving you logically what's going on, but there's a lot of things going on. So is confidence a consumer or sales professional? That's, by the way, that's consumer confidence, a little bit different, very different, by the way. This is somebody says, hey, I'm offering this. These are the expected benefits. The listener is going, how confident am I that I can actually get that stuff? I'll give you an example. If a personal trainer who's out of shape, I'm going to get you in shape. What's your confidence that you're going to get that? Somebody who's broke telling you they're going to make money. What's the confidence that you're going to do that? Sean Benosian tell you, I'm going to show you how to make $1 million. Confidence pretty damn high. Pretty darn high. So you look at that brand is the multiplier, because that builds confidence. It's a feeling to do it. Somebody else comes by and says, I got a shoe that actually will make you jump higher because we have springs in them. And the brand is called Acme. I'm still wearing Jordans. And people will tell you that the iPhone is better than an Android, but people will tell you that understand the technology in an Android far supersedes Apple. I'm going Apple still. It's the brand. It has nothing to do with logic. It has everything to do with the emotion and the promise that I think I'm going to get from it. And now there's levels to this. So now let's go down this path for a minute. Okay. I'm offering tattoo services. Okay. I got a guy that does that. And you got 2 options. You can go with a guy that charges $25 versus another one that charges $2,500. Now, you got a $25 tattoo and a $2,500 tattoo. If your belief, keyword, was that they are the same product, If your belief was that they were the same product, which would you choose? Put $25 or $2,500. Which would you choose if your belief was that they were the same, meaning it's commoditized? Salt is salt. We would all choose 25, right? So now, here's the thing. You are in the business of belief change. I'm in the business of getting you to believe differently. In fact, you're in the middle of one of my campaigns to get you to believe differently. You're in the middle of it. This whole presentation is structured to shift your belief system. Let me show you the power of one thing. Oh, let me show you the power of presentation. Here's the tattoo you're going to get. There's the 25. There's the 2,500. Which one do you want? Put the one that you want. 2,500. What changed? Only one thing changed. This is the power of presentation. And I showed you one visual picture, and I got 2 more zeros on my product. I removed myself from the commodity with just one photo. Now, that's a damn good photo. Not because of the quality of the photo, because of the metaphor and the story, the emotion it elicits, and the promise that it delivers. This is why I wrote the book on presentation. But now there's something even more important, because my journey, this is where my journey woke up. My journey went to, I'm going through this because I wrote all this out this morning, literally at 4 in the morning. We look at the typical process where we got to generate a lead. We got to present to that lead. We got to close it, right? Then we get paid. Right? Just a simple process. More to it than that, but there's that. And so when I first got started, 18 years old, I went to work on, my job was selling. That was my goal, to be the master. And I'd say that I reached some level of mastery in selling. Now I'm 30 years into selling, pretty damn good at it. It's not part of my brand, but anybody who's gone sales training with me will tell you that I put me against the best of them in the world. I know I can do that. And then I got into the change management world. So then I said, I need to be a master. Spent years doing change management, union labor issues, all that sort of stuff. 9/11 happened, killed our business. I went back to selling. Another reinvention. I can actually do sales training. And I'm taking everything that I learned in change management and bringing it to selling. So then now it was actually a higher value sales process. And in that process, I started realizing, man, we probably make people better at presentation. So I started learning all of the things that mattered for presentation. And I took sales, basic selling, change management, the brain research to advanced selling to make you a really good presenter. And then that put me in front of leaders. So I had to become a leadership expert. Now, this is a 30-year journey that I went on. And then I started realizing and asking the question, well, what the hell is leadership? And then I realized there was one answer for all of this. One answer. It was influence. There's one answer. Influence makes you a better salesperson, helps you manage change, makes you a better leader. It is the only measure of leadership. And so that's why I said, I'm going to do this. 6 years ago, I'm all in. Wrote the book. All of it's about this. And then when my world started crashing in again at 239 days a year and all this stuff, and I started realizing there's something else here. And the one question I've been asked to do more than anything is, Rene, how did you build your brand and what did you do? And now I realized that the real thing, the one I'm focused on now, is this. Right there. Because I can use selling to do this and helping people manage change. But if I have a brand, I've accomplished these things before I walk in the door. It's done for me. There's leads generated in the inbox. They've presented to themselves through my social media and other platforms and other advocates, and everybody's telling my story for me. So I show up and go, here's what works and here's the price. This is the ultimate place. because it does so much of that. And so I was just on the phone with Ron this morning. He goes, Rene, what you're doing is compressing time. Yes, that is the secret of Amplify. It's leverage and compression. I leverage my time, and you have to say less to accomplish more. That is what you use brain research for. This, if you say this in this sequence and that, that's what Phil Jones is teaching. If you say it this way, you get one result. But if you say it this way, you get that result. Go on that Scriptapalooza, because you're going to learn one of the most important skills on verbalizing the tool that you have here. And so then we go, okay, well, the compression of time. Speaking does that, because I could speak one-on-one to 100 people. It's 100 meetings, or one meeting to 100 people in 1 hour, or maybe in 3 hours, or excuse me, maybe it's 3,000 people. Who knows? And so we go, okay, that's what that's about. And so now here's the final mindset piece. And this is where really I want to get you guys to be at. We're going down a path. Let's say that we have 100 people going down this path to compete in something, and they're met with a fork in the road to either think of doubling their business, or let's just use 10xing their business. Okay. So now, where do you think most people will choose to compete? In a strategy to double, or to 10x or 1,000% their business? What do you think most people will choose? Oscar, 100% right. So if we've got 100 people here, I would venture to say, let's put it at, I'm going to put 95 people here and 5 people here. Right? Now, here's the bigger difference. A lot of people will say, well, 10x. I'm like, well, hold on a second. That's what you want. No different than you're going down the car aisle and you see a Ferrari and you see a Honda. We're all going to go Ferrari. They go, cool, buy one. They go, I don't think I can do that. I'm going to go with the Honda. So this is belief. Our wants turn our attention to the 10x, but our belief system decides where we go. And unfortunately, most of us operate in a 2x mindset. So let's dissect that a little bit further. Okay. What does that mean? Well, one, 2x mindset is the pursuit of money. And by the way, which one is more crowded space to play in? Because you got to think competitively. I'm competing against 95 people here, 95% of the population versus 5. This is highly crowded of people fighting over the same dollars with the same value propositions. And their only way of doing this is to work twice as hard. Same strategy. And by the way, it doesn't require much change either, right? It doesn't require much change. This requires massive change. And in fact, what they say is 80% of what you're doing now needs to stop. This is why Ron Storrs made me read the book, 10x is easier than 2x. Because I've been talking about this stuff, and he gave me this language for it. I was like, holy shit. Part of it is saying, okay, right now, 80% of the people are going this way. It's actually more than that. But this is accounting for 20%. Well, what does that mean? This is the pursuit of money. This is the pursuit of wealth and value. Now, the big misnomer, people think wealth equals money. Doesn't. Let's rethink that. Okay. I know a lot of people with not a lot of money that are extremely wealthy. What do I mean by that? They choose what they want to do. They go where they want to go. They're surrounded by friends and family. I know people that make $2 million a year with $1.95 million in expenses. A lot of money, no wealth. Which really means, at the end of the day, if you could do what you wanted that didn't require money, money would have no value. Money buys you freedoms. At the end of the day, it buys you freedom to get the things that you can buy. And so, gotta sneeze. Excuse me. And so now, freedoms is what it gets. So how do you create wealth? I'll give you another example. Let's pretend that I've got a beat up car worth $500. But I have a skill set to refurbish that car. And I refurbish this vehicle. Brand new, it's worth $20,000. Well, If I sell you something, I've got to take money from you to me. So I'm up $1, you're down $1. Hopefully what I gave you in exchange has some tangible value to it, so we're even, but there's a shift there. So then now, but in the wealth side, I can create all this wealth because I created it and nobody lost anything because of it. How did I create it? Because I increased my value. How do we increase value? Increase your skill. Skill is the way you create wealth. What do you think this whole thing is about? Everything we're doing here, everything that Dave, Todd, and Deb are teaching you are skills. And these skills that you can then invest to build wealth, which then what's really cool about wealth is that it attracts money. So now, number 5, if you're still with me on this, is this making sense? You following me on this? This is my 4 a.m. thing.
I'm following you.
Okay. So now, make sure we're doing it on time. We're getting close. So here's how this works. Okay. For me, the whole process around brand begins with what we call brand ethos. Now, we've talked about this in Amplify, if you've been to that, but your ethos is where it comes down to. And this is right now since 2003. And I studied it in college, but I reintroduced in 2003. I'm still trying to figure out what this word means. But it's Aristotle was the first person to talk about argumentative thought and persuasion. And he said, you have to have ethos, which is credibility, character. But then when you get into branding in the highest levels, they all talk about brand ethos, which is the essence of who you are. Most branding efforts and social media efforts and PR efforts and speak for attention versus congruency and ethos. Now, attention's an important thing, by the way. As somebody who teaches on how to capture attention, that's the basis of influence. But there's something different when design is created for ethos. It shifts the entire game. And so the way that I do, I hire a copywriter. That copywriter will spend sometimes 6 weeks dissecting and drawing out of me what your ethos is. And 6 years ago, mine came out. We did a 20-page document on this, and it was Neuro Innovator. And I looked at it, I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with Neuro Innovator? But then I read a little further, and it said something I've been trying to say for so long. I'd say, no, I'm not like an entertainer guy. I'm not Tony Robbins. I'm not rah on stage. I'm not the nerd chic like Simon Sinek. I'm not the cheerleader Tony. I'm not the verbose guy that uses all the corporate speak. I'm not the pretty boy that can be on the covers of magazines. I'm none of those guys. Like, well, who am I? And so I couldn't explain it. And then he just comes up with one sentence, says, Rene is entertaining, but he's not an entertainer. I was like, oh, yes, I'm trying to say that. And then I go, but you know, understand, lasting change is the most important thing. But when my mother, she was talking about how do you create change that lasts, it doesn't leave dead bodies. And I go, I want to make sure that you understand transformation. And the difference between a speaker and what I do is that I had to stay around for years and be responsible for the results. And if as a consultant, if I didn't get the results, I was fired. And I would say all these things for hours. And he goes, one sentence, Rene's impact doesn't leave the building when he does. Yes, that's what I've been trying to say. One sentence. That's the power of the copywriter that understands your ethos and who you are. Have you ever seen me talk about financial advice? Have you ever seen me give advice on how to grow hair, on how to get a six-pack? I can teach you how to lose 100 pounds of fat. I did that. But I ain't got a six-pack yet. I don't talk about how to read a credit report. You've never heard me talk about a total cost analysis because I have no ethos. It's not who I am. It's not the lane that I play in. When Deb came into this, she said, I'm going to play in one lane. And she has played in one lane. I'm going to play in social media. I have yet to meet another person more dedicated to understanding in depth what's happening in social media. She lives and breathes and eats it. And she's willing to make more mistakes and find more successes than anybody I've ever seen. And this is her world. And then when she's outside of it, you know what she does? Same thing I do. We got a pad of paper, a pen, and we start learning. And then she gets in it, and then she starts teaching. She's out of it, she's learning. In her ethos, teaching. Out of ethos, learning. That's what we all need to be is what's your ethos? What's that lane? This is what I was telling Todd, and I'm going to call you out because I love you and compliment you with calling you out. He said, yeah, I'm like, Todd, why don't you do more social media stuff? He's like, yeah, I'm just throwing stuff against the wall and see what sticks. I'm like, why would you do that? You are win by noon. What a cool concept. I mean, I'm trying to win in life. No. Just win by noon, dude. Oh, and by the way, here's every single thing that everybody successful is doing mapped out. And oh, by the way, there's a workbook for it. And there's a whole website and there's all this training. And look at what I've amassed in my life. You guys don't know, Todd's a sleeper. This guy is massively wealthy. And he buys houses, lots of them. That's his ethos. He's somebody who has done it. Look at Dave. He is an evangelist of what he does. We always talked about it. Dave is the evangelist. And whatever is fortunate enough to get Dave's attention is gold. I was fortunate enough to get his attention for a couple of years in Amplify. I attribute a lot of my success to Dave just bestowing some attention to me. Like I will forever be grateful for that. Now look at that. He gives MortgageCoach, sells it, says, oh, we're now going to grow Trust Engine. Oh, First Home IQ, boom. All of a sudden everyone's there. The power, his ethos is his attention, where it goes. And that is what's going on. And so we got to figure out what's your lane. Now, if NAR settlement, understanding and being the best at it is your lane, then dive into that fucking lane. Own it. If you are in the industry, you need to understand it. But maybe your lane is to create trust and comfort. And the one that goes, by the way, doesn't mean anything to you. All it means is I got to explain my value. And maybe your lane is the leader. You're not doing the stuff anymore, but you're the one creating the training and being there to support the people there. You got to define your lane first. Stop throwing shit against the wall because the worst thing you can do is go viral for the wrong reason. If you went viral, I told Todd, okay, let's say, Todd, let's throw some shit up against the wall and you throw up a recipe for lasagna. And oh my God, it blows up. It blows up because he threw some magic ingredients into there, the little Arizona ingredients, whatever those might be, and it blows up. And he's got 10 million followers. He shows up to an event. What are people expecting? Hey, give me one of those recipes again. Like, whoa, no, I'm actually, I saw a win by noon. Win by what? Dude, I need a recipe. Can we do that in cookies, you think? I don't know. My team put that up there and it just happened to work. Well, no, but I don't need productivity, dude. Wrong reason to go viral. And so my point is, forget virality, forget the followers, forget all that stuff. What's your lane? Own that lane. And what's really beautiful is when you own that lane, the algorithm finds you. It's searching for people with clarity. That's the dirty little secret. People that just know what they are. Jefferson Fisher, real simple. Holds the phone up. How to do this. How to do this. What to say when someone says this. I met him when he was just barely approaching 1 million followers. This guy's over 6 million followers, holding his damn phone up. Got a massive book deal. I remember when he came off stage at AmpCon last year, he comes off, he goes, dude, this is the biggest stage I've ever had. I'm like, get used to it, dude, because this is peanuts compared to what's in your future, man. He was clear. There's your word, clarity, Dave. His ethos was so clear. When you meet him, you know who he is, what he believes, what he stands for. And so then now, here's the big piece. First step, you have to do an ethos exploration. We call it Ethos X. The next phase, and this is where people miss, there's a lot of agencies that will do this. What I'm adding to this, and this is, by the way, Amplify was created not based on what everybody else was teaching. It was based on my journey and how I created what I did. This journey is created on what I did. The big missing piece is business strategy. Your brand should serve the business. And you have business strategy agencies and brand strategy agencies. They never speak. This process needs to have both. I'm bringing people up for a day and a half to my house, and we sit down after we've identified their ethos. We identify their business strategy, goals, objectives, strategies, plans of action, and we look at where they're going, not just how many talk-tos in a day and how many applications, bigger than that. Working with a guy that says he's already producing $300 million a year. I need to be in this state in 5 years. That's the planning we're doing. Where do I need to be? And we start aligning, guess what? The ethos to the strategy. And then we start going, okay, well, what's the brand strategy? Because then we got to go, okay, well, what's your identity? Now, third, we go into logo, color, design, photography, all driven by your brand ethos, not by what's trending or what sticks. We stay in our lane. If you look at my social media, it is 100% on one ethos. When I stray outside of it and I do sales content, I can go 100,000 views to 1,000 views real quick. And my sales training content is fucking awesome, but my audience doesn't care, right? And so it's also not my ethos. But if I go, and I teach you how to go from here to there, 25 million views. Why? Because that's where my ethos was created. And so when we're in alignment with this, we build out your logo. We build out the color, the website, the photography. But then they're also being filtered by this. And you have to have somebody that manages and is stuck to this. And once we do this, this is what we call phase one. Okay, so then now, do you need a podcast? Cool. We pull from the identity to build a podcast like this. Oh, you need the equipment? We have the equipment. Okay, now social media strategy? Yep. Now, imagine having somebody with this document saying, this is the content, this is the direction. And then they design from there. And then guess what? You go to ChatGPT, you upload that document, says, this is who I am. ChatGPT starts to salivate and goes, I like this. Now I know what to say. I don't have to invent anything. I can work with who you are, and I can create content that might inspire some thinking. You iterate with AI to make you better and faster and more nimble. The same way you drive a car to get to point A to point B faster, but you still got to learn to drive. You still got to have direction. You don't get in the car and go, take me there. No, you got to fucking drive. Drive AI. Don't let it drive you. Big difference. Now we get into PR. We get into every single outlet of what brand comes with. But here's the ultimate goal, and I'll leave you with this. We're trying to achieve one phrase. Convergent validity. What does that mean? I'll explain to you. So when you get into statistics and studying things, you have to, if you're doing like a test like the DISC test or Myers-Briggs, a psychologist is going to test it for content validity and face validity. It means that can you defend this in court? Is it predictive of behavior? Will you get the same results every time you take it? And it's a statistical study that does that. By the way, DISC is not valid. No predictive of behavior in any way, shape, or form. Just a good conversation. Myers-Briggs, not valid. No predictive of behavior, but it creates a great conversation. So be careful with those. So then in this, convergent validity means, is everything that we're saying, when we see it and it converges, is it saying the same exact thing? That is the holy grail of a brand. And when it all converges, have the same ethos. No matter where you go, you order a McDonald's burger, it's going to taste the same. The fries will be the same cut fry from Idaho. They're going to have 7% more oil absorption than the others because they're a smaller cut fry. They're going to have the beef tallow that's flavoring the oil, which is why they taste so damn good. Everywhere you go, the brand follows. And the brand ethos and the emotion and the promise is there. So that was what my brain went for in the morning.
What
That
a
was amazing.
absolute masterclass we all got here, guys. So first of all, any producing managers, make sure you really get this. Make sure you're leading by example. This video will be a great sales meeting to feature some of the things that you thought were most important to this. My goal is always, when creating content, to create value. Like that's always been the YouTube strategy. Like, let's create free value digitally online. But here's the deal. It is great content. but it's online, it's digital, and who knows what you're doing. You know, where true transformation takes place is at in-person events. You know, like, yeah, leverage digital content, listen to podcasts, but when you go to a personal event and you are in a room with like-minded people, and you have someone like Rene Rodriguez that's creating like an experience, like who's on that stage, the sequence in which they're on that stage, that is where true transformation takes place. So Rene, I know I want to make sure everyone who stayed in and tuned into this, if you're watching the video, really listen to what's coming next. AmpCon is 20 days away. We'll put a link down below for anyone who wants to sign up and be there. But it's going to be a room of mortgage real estate professionals, people that are dedicated to optimizing their brand. Rene, give us a minute, 2 minute. Why should mortgage and real estate professionals come to this event right now? And give us a little highlight, bro.
Yeah. Well, one, thank you. One, it's a really, really, really cool event. This is last year. Well, one, I want you to stay on and listen because I'm going to have an offer for you at the end of this that's going to make it really easy for you to attend. I'm an extremely transparent person. We are event saturated right now. This has never been harder to fill an event because there are 5 events prior to my event. There's about 5 or 6 after my event. And we're all friends, by the way. We're all buddies. And we used to all come to each other's events. And now we're like, I can't mention your event because I'll cannibalize mine. I'm like, I get it. Shit. So point being, we got a lot of events. I wanted to invite you to come to ours. And I'm going to host the event regardless. And I want you to get value out of it. We've got some incredible speakers coming, by the way. We got Flex Lewis, 7 consecutive Mr. Olympia winners. If you ever know what Mr. Olympia is, Arnold Schwarzenegger won 6 of them. He won 7 in a row. 7 in a row. That means being in a zone for 7 years, nothing but net, physically, emotionally, mentally, be the top pinnacle for 7 years. Imagine the mindset conversation. We've got Charlie Rocket, one of the most beautiful human beings I've ever met. He was 300 pounds as a kid, 18 years old, said, Mom, I'm going to become a music producer. Somehow gets the attention of 2 Chainz and 6 other #1 artists. By the time he's 20, he's got 6 #1 artists. He's building a music mogul empire, gets brain cancer, wraps around his eye, says, I'm going to die. I want to fulfill my lifetime dream of being an athlete. But yeah, he's 350 pounds, gives away his equity back to his partners and goes and becomes an athlete because of triathlon. Decides to create a commercial for Nike, a fan commercial. And that fan commercial somehow is picked up by Nike and becomes the biggest Nike campaign in history, changing the strategy and direction of Nike. It was a Colin Kaepernick commercial in the Super Bowl that Charlie got a chance to star in. As a result of doing that, achieving all his dreams, he comes back and he says, you know what? I want to make other people's dreams come true. So he starts the Dream Machine Foundation. 30 dreams a week he makes come true for people that are dying, sick, have nothing to do. It's literally make a wish, but with a twist. This twist is he uses his 12 million plus followers to tell people's story. The GoFundMe campaign starts. We fund it. And then he teaches, not only makes the dream come true, but he teaches them the financial needs and processes to help them ensure it never happens again. By the way, Dave, I think you should put him on, by the way, interview this guy. He's phenomenal.
Introduce me. Let's go.
Coach Michael Burt, America's coach, what I think one of the best tactician coaches out there. My beautiful wife, Maddie, she's going to be talking. We've got, have you ever seen Show Me the Money? Dave, Jerry Maguire. That movie was inspired by Lee Steinberg Sports and Entertainment, #1 sports agency in the world. The CEO of that agency is Dave Meltzer. Dave Meltzer has become a very close friend, confidant, coach, and mentor. I went to him and I said, we were friends working together. I go, I want to hire you. He goes, you don't need to hire me. Just call me. I said, no. I need your attention in a different way. He goes, you got it. I'm like, no, I'm going to pay you. And I want you to teach me one thing. I want you to change how I think about money. It's the only thing. It's only, we have 20 minutes twice a month on that one topic. And it's not cheap by my choosing. And so that's Dave. Amberly Lago was just on the Ed Milet show. She got T-boned. She was a fitness model and actress, was riding her Harley, gets T-boned, almost loses her leg, and goes through this miraculous journey to come back. He's written 2 best-selling books. And Derek Fay, my business partner, who has bought, sold, scaled, and managed over $2 billion worth of transactions last 25 years. He has a very different way of thinking about looking at value. But more importantly, who's going to be there is people like you in the audience. And so here's what this looks like. See if that works. We have, this is an old, these are sold out, by the way. I haven't refreshed this page. So our super VIP and ultra VIPs are sold out. We have 2 ways of getting there. For those of you who want to come and are part of the Mortgage Coach community, I will give you a 50% discount to come. Yes, it is not easy to fill events. I want to make it easy. It's gonna be $198 to come to this. And here's the kicker. What I want to do, and I know I can do this because not all of you are going to take advantage of it. If you sign up for this and you send us a message, I will give you a code for 5 complimentary tickets. And I want you to use those to create your leverage with referral partners, with people that you're trying to recruit, realtors, staff that you want to elevate and put in the right room, because you got to change the mindset of the people around you. And why not do it together? Part of my brand is I want you to associate massive value from me every time we talk. And I'm changing the game for myself. Instead of trying to charge you a ton of this, I want you guys to come get the value. You'll remember me. Some of you will want to go on the brand journey and hire me that way. I can make my money that way. But we are going through this event. I want you to leverage this to bring your people. The code for 50% off is this: AMP on 50. There's your code, AmpCon 50. That'll give you 50% off the general admission. And when you buy that, send Maddie at meetrene.com or message on social media and tell us that you'd like to get those tickets so that you can invite your people. Now, hotels are filling up, so you do need to get on those quickly. But I want this to be a value. One, it's my way of saying thank you to Dave, Todd, Deb, for their support over the years. And my way of saying to you guys, I want to see all of you guys there. So if you're interested in coming, can you just give me market sense? If you're thinking about coming, can you put like a 7 there? Who's thinking about coming? I'd like to see that blow up.
Let's go, guys. Hope to see you there. Of course, I had a 1 up the 7. I put an 8. But good. Rene, first of all, thank you so much. Oh, I got 1 up by a 9. Looks like I need to 1 up the 9er. There's
Thanks,
10.
Paul.
Oh, people are competing with me. All right. Hey, Rene, what an incredible gift. Thank you for giving so much time to this community. Todd, close it out, win by noon style.
You know, I already thought at 50% off, you know, you should have had everyone who was watching, but at 50% off plus 5 tickets, y'all, he made it just a no-brainer for you. And we all need to invest in ourselves. And Dave really highlighted it. There's one thing to sit here and learn from Rene here. I've been at the last couple AMP cons live, and it's a magic room and it's in person. You're going to be around the people that you need to be around, right? We all know you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. I've been reading 10X is greater than 2X, which Rene kind of gave a shout out to earlier. And they talk about who are the 10X people that you hang around. And I can tell you this, the 10X people are all going to be at AmpCon. And so it's just an amazing opportunity. And then, you know, Rene, it's funny because I knew Dave was going to say, how are you going to close this out? And I was gonna be like, all right, I remember Rene telling me not to go viral for the wrong things. And so I also think your homework for the weekend is after you sign up for AmpCon, after you figure out who are the 5 people you're going to bring along with you and book your hotel, is really spend time thinking about that ethos. Who am I, right? And really get crystal clear on that. It really made me, I circled that in all my pages and notes as a thing that I'm going to spend time on to make sure as I go back, since I think I've been doing a better job on my videos, but I realize I even need to do a better job on those videos. And I got to get that figure out. I'll ask my wife, you know, it was way back in high school that we started dating, but I'll ask her if there was, what was that special shirt that I wore? And I'll have to wear it to the next event.
Love it. That's awesome.
All right, guys. Rene, thank you so much, brother. Killer call, guys. Get signed up today. Book your hotel. Email Maddie. Let's go. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you all. Please
Fantastic.
email us if you have any questions as well. Happy to talk.